He reaches, oh, that ball's out, that's live! Back the other way, Sam Hubbard! The Cincinnati Kid! Hubbard's got a convoy! Chased by Andrews! At the 30, the 20, he will score!
To the end zone, down the field, and it is deflected, and gone! Touchdown! A.J. Green!
Over goes back to throw, men are coming late, looks right down the middle, there's Eddie Brown, he has it at the 35 to the 30, he may go, 10-5, touchdown!
Now the Bengals Super Bowl chances rest on his right foot. The kick is up.
Yeah.
It is good.
Corey Dillon, he's gone. The knockout punch, you're looking at it. 65 yards. And they're back to throw as the blitz is on. Goes long, intended for Collinsworth. He has it down to the 20, touchdown. And Chris Collinsworth.
Throwing the long ball. Deep down the field. Trent Johnson's got it. Touchdown, Cincinnati.
Look at Chase go! Oh my goodness, what a gear he just found! Case for the touchdown! Wow, Chase is on the case!
It is no fluke. It is a fact. The Cincinnati Bengals are headed to Super Bowl 56. The play clock at 3. Shotgun snap. Carr throws into traffic. Intercepted. Jermaine Pratt has the football.
Yeah.
Coffin nails.
Bam, bam, bam! How about that?
That might be the longest intro I've ever heard. But welcome on in. We are Chatterbox Sports, if you guys don't know who we are. Also, if I'm speaking too loud or quiet, just give me hand motions. I can only hear myself in here. But nonetheless, we are Chatterbox Sports. If you don't know who we are a broadcast media sports company up in Hamilton, Ohio. I'm Elliot Rearing. We are here with Jacob Tissett, Reed Mouse, and Casey McAllister. It's awesome to be on the west side of Cincinnati.
That's right, best side.
Best side. I live in. I have to commute to work in Hamilton, Ohio. For those of you who've never made that drive, don't. Please stay far away from Hamilton, Ohio. It's a 55-minute commute, and it's an hour and a half long when Ross decides to repave the roads every other week.
Without Hamilton, Ohio, the world would never have gotten Joe Nuxall. So let's pump the brakes on the Hamilton hate here.
That's fair.
This is my side of town. I feel like I'm allowed to do it over here. I stopped doing it on our show.
It's funny. I don't know. I'm not going to do the West Side thing, even though you've given a lot of hate to Hamilton.
No, I haven't.
I think there's a lot of similarities in the communities. It's pretty much the same place.
No. See, in the West Side of Cincinnati, I've never once seen a guy try to lawn mow some cement. Up by our office, it's all cement, and the guy has his lawnmower on, trying to lawn mow over cement.
Well, that's simply because you haven't been to the right places on the West Side. It sounds like you're going to the boring places. That guy is a hoot, and his name's Larry, and he's fantastic.
Yeah, Larry doesn't have a house, but that's okay. I don't judge. But here we go, everybody. We are going to talk about the Cincinnati Bengals. It's Week 1. And by the way, it's night 1 of the NFL season. It's what we've all waited for. We've had to suffer through this miserable Reds season. So now we get to talk about football, and thank God for that. Gentlemen, Bengals preseason mostly got under without any issues. We'll talk about some of the issues that occurred. But mostly it went pretty well. Thoughts on the preseason this year opposed to the last 2 years?
Yeah, I mean, obviously the elephant in the room is Jamar's holdout, and that's been the main story the entire preseason. But I think it was a smoother preseason than a lot of people expected. I mean, signing his franchise tag about as early as he could. Trey Hendrickson rescinding his trade request. I think a lot of the storylines the Bengals were faced with this offseason kind of took care of themselves pretty early. And then obviously one we didn't expect with Jamar reared its ugly head, but all the reports coming out now are that he's planning on playing on Sunday. Hopefully in the next hour or so we'll get some good news on an extension, but we'll see what happens there. But yeah, I think the preseason was about as good as you could have expected, all things considered.
It's so funny to hear us talking about a preseason in which our star wide receiving number 1 as held in, I should say, because he wants an extension. Our our key, our heart of our defense, Trey Hendrickson, not only asked for an extension, he asked to be traded and threatened retirement. And then our wide receiver number 2 also asked to be traded. All those things are getting sorted out in due time. But that just shows you, it paints a picture of what the preseason has been like for the Bengals for the past few years. The one thing that every Bengals fan has asked for really 4 years now is, can we get a normal offseason for our QB1, for the guy that took us to the Super Bowl, Joe Burrow? Year number 1, he had COVID, so he's going to be the number 1 pick. He finds out he's the number 1 pick in his parents' living room. Year number 2, he's coming off an ACL injury. Year number 3, it just goes on. He had the appendicitis, and then the leg last year, the calf. So it's just, can we get a normal preseason? And it seems like we kind of got one, even though he is coming off a season-ending wrist injury. But everything should be fine. It did go fairly easy as long as Jamar Chase plays this Sunday.
Yes. Thoughts, Casey?
I mean, it's as good as it could have been, right? All things considered.
Yeah.
There's only one issue, and that's the Jamar Chase thing, and I think that's going to get settled here really, really quickly. So, honestly, I really love what the Bengals have done so far. It's going to be a great season.
And I think to have a season where Jamar is doing, I won't call it nonsense, but to have this distraction, however big or small, however you want to classify it, to have it this year with the easiest schedule I've seen in a very, very long time, for the first 6 games, it's the third easiest schedule in the NFL, opposed to last season when you have, I think it was the hardest schedule in the past 30 years in the NFL.
I think in NFL history. It was the hardest since like the 1929 Arizona, whatever.
Yeah, so it was 11
Lumberjacks.
The Lumberjacks.
A lot of Lumberjacks in Arizona. Cutting down cacti.
Yeah, 11 games versus playoff teams, most in the NFL since at least 2000. 14 games versus teams over 500. That's most in the NFL since at least 2000. And that's a record of 158 and 114. That was the opponents the Bengals played last year. It was as brutal as it could have gone, not to mention you lose your starting quarterback. But this year, it appears to be going a little bit better. I mentioned the schedule. How nice is it to have one of the easiest schedules I've ever seen? And also, how much pressure does that add to the Bengals to be successful through this first 6-week stretch?
I think a lot of that added pressure just comes from the expectations people have for this Bengals team. You're focused on winning the division. You're talking about 1 seed before the season even kicks off. And beating the teams you're supposed to beat is how you get to that point. You have to take care of business against, teams like the Patriots, which I know we're going to get into here in a second, the Giants, the Panthers, all those lower level teams. Those are the teams you have to dominate in order to prove that you can be the 1 seed and make a deep run in the playoffs. And then that gives you more wiggle room against the really good teams that you have to play. Because the Bengals' start to the schedule is very easy, but we know how tough this division is. We play the Chiefs, we play the Eagles. There's a lot of tough teams on the schedule, Cowboys as well in Dallas. There's a lot of places where this team could slip up, and taking care of business against the teams you should be, that's crucial.
Yeah. I will say this. I think it adds this pressure that if you don't go 4-2, which I think is the baseline number for all of us at this table.
Yeah.
If you don't go 4-2, if you start anything less than that, there is this notion that, the season's over. If you can't beat these guys, you're not going to beat anybody. I will caution that. This is your department. You like to say that the Bengals could go 0-6 and they'd be fine. You just go on an unbelievable winning streak like they've done the past several years. But it does add that pressure for sure. Talking about the Patriots, that is week 1. It's a roster that, in my opinion, doesn't have a ton. No. I would say, to be quite frank. Will this be the year the Bengals come out of the gates swinging? They start out hot. They crush the Patriots into the ground. I think this is the year it happens.
I don't necessarily think that they have to, crush them into the ground. I think it would just be nice to get one under your belt for a win. The last time that the Bengals won week 1 was their Super Bowl year when they beat the Minnesota Vikings in overtime. C.J. Uzomah had a great catch. It was a great win. Just to show you where we've come as Bengals fans is I walked into that stadium and got tickets for $15. And today I think tickets are $180 to go to week 1 against Patriots and the biggest spread in the NFL, just to show you how far we've come and how excited we are. But, listen, I think I fall closer to the camp of Jacob, to where I'm not worried about how you look in September. You can start 2-2, 3-3, whatever it's been the last few years, 0-2 that year we played backup quarterbacks week 1 and week 2. And as long as you're playing your best football in November, December, January, you get into the postseason, I don't really care what it looks like. I will tell you, though, for the first time, that looking at the first 6 weeks, that if you don't take care of business, you got to start asking your question. You got to start asking the questions, what is this team? What are you? So that's why you just want to see it taken care of and just go in and beat a Patriots team that has really no playoff aspirations. They got a new coach. They don't know what they're quite doing yet at the quarterback position. It's the biggest spread in the NFL week 1 to where you just should take care of it and, put everyone at ease in Cincinnati and go like, all right, you see the win, you see one go through the hoop. Let's start worrying about this season now.
I do think there's going to be a certain level of panic if the Bengals don't start fast, and part of that is just because of the schedule and how easy those opponents are, but I think part of that also is just because people are fed up with slow starts. Yeah. We've seen how close this Bengals team got last year, even with Joe Burrow hurt, and you just think, well, if we would have started a little bit better, maybe you're in the playoffs, and I don't think we want to be dealing with that again, and since we've seen it happen that way over the last couple years, I mean, barring an insane winning streak to end the season a couple years ago, we probably wouldn't have made the playoffs either there with that slow start. So starting fast is certainly important, but we've seen this team string together crazy streaks of wins, upsets, whatever else, and they're not underdogs a whole lot on this schedule. So if they start out slow, though it's certainly not ideal, I have the utmost faith that the Bengals are going to bounce back.
Patriots are 17-10 all-time against the Bengals. They've won 7 of their last 9, but obviously the most recent was 2022 when the Bengals jumped out to a 22-point lead, almost blew it in the second half, 22-18 the final, kind of a crazy game, right in the middle of that win streak, if I remember right.
Yeah, I think Joe Burrow threw for 370 yards, completed 80% of his passes, threw for 3 touchdowns, and I think rushed for 1. I know, 4 touchdowns. Yeah, I think that's how it worked.
It's going to be a little bit of a different look with the Patriots this season. You're playing quarterback in Jacoby Brissett. Didn't start a game last season. He's 18-30 as a starter. Is there any fear, Casey? When you go to bed at night, do you have nightmares about Jacoby Brissett?
Absolutely not. Former Brown. So you already know my opinions on former Browns players. They all stink.
That's right.
This New England Patriots roster is abysmal, man. I mean, they're in the middle of what could possibly be a 2 or 3 year rebuild, and they just got started. I know I just said that they were right in the middle of it. They just got started in the middle of a rebuild. So, this roster, I am not afraid of the Patriots whatsoever. They should take care of business against the Patriots on all phases of football.
The one thing that's sticking out in my brain, and maybe it's just a pessimistic Bengals fan, but Jacoby Brissett was at the helm of the Browns that wretched Halloween game where they just dominated the Bengals. And that's all I can think about playing Jacoby Brissett this week, but he certainly doesn't scare me. He was the gimmick Hail Mary quarterback for the Phillip Rivers Colts. They would bring him in to throw the deep balls. So that tells you about who he is.
There's a big piece of the Bengals missing in that game, so the irony. If that guy doesn't play this Sunday. We'll talk about that in a bit. Wide receiver core of Demario Douglas and KJ Osborne. That's your 1-2.
Who? Don't forget Kendrick Bourne.
I'll say it again for you, Reed. It's Demario Douglas and KJ Osborne. And I don't think I spelled them right. I don't know. If I'm being honest.
You spelled KJ wrong?
Some of the DFA guys Are those some of the DFA guys that the Reds have gotten throughout the years? It's just like also Mike Ford and Ty France.
Speaking of DFA guys, the Patriots just signed someone from their practice squad to start at the O-line this weekend.
Really?
So they're already scraping the bottom of the barrel, and we're not even to week 1. And their starters, like we already said, aren't that good anyway. So if they're getting to their practice squad this early, I like our chances.
Now, we're making fun of them, but to be fair to them, I'll give them a little bit of credit here. The Patriots defense last season, top 11 against the pass. They were top 4 against the rush. Is there a chance they slow Joe Burrow in this offense down?
There's a key piece of that defense that's not there anymore. He's in Atlanta. That's Matthew Judon. He was crucial to that defense. He was their best pass rusher last year, probably the best player on that entire defense. And I think losing his sack production off the edge is going to be a big change for them. But they get their rookie last year, Christian Gonzalez. He got hurt early in the season. He was leading all odds and all votes to win Defensive Rookie of the Year. He's going to be back. He's going to be healthy. I think he's going to be a really special player on the outside. I don't know if it's going to come together quite yet for him in just his 3rd or 4th NFL game, but I think there's some good pieces on that defense. I like when we catch the Patriots in the season because I think they could mesh together well by the end of the year.
Yeah, and one last thing, too, is Barmore is hurt as well. That's another key piece on their defensive line, not there. And that's going to significantly change the look of their defense. They're not going to be able to stop the run. They're not going to be able to pass rush. It's going to be a whole new look defense, at least at the beginning of this season. And I've already said it once. I'm going to say it again. Bengals should be taking care of business against this roster. If they do not take care of business against this roster, we got other problems.
Here's the thing about the Patriots, and I think and you guys can mention all the pieces that they're going to be missing, and like everyone in media, everyone that looks at this Patriots team expects them to be very, very bad, competing for the number 1 pick next year, and none of that reason is because of their defense. Like, it is the one thing that New England has had under wraps for years is how good their defense. Bill Belichick might have been the greatest defensive mind this sport's ever seen. Gerard Mayo obviously came from that camp, was a former Patriot player. I fully believe that the Patriots are going to be just fine on the defensive side, despite missing some serious talent on that side of the ball. I don't think anybody's questioning that the Patriots have NFL level defense. It's really, you look at the offensive side of the ball. I remember thinking about when they're going to draft a quarterback. I'm looking at this roster and I said to myself, I was like, God bless whoever gets drafted there, because there's that cupboard is empty. Billy Boy, I mean he cooked every single meal in that pantry. I think Tom took a lot of it. I think Tom was the main hunk of ham in there. But that cupboard is empty.
The one offensive player they have is Ramondre Stevenson.
And he's really good.
That's the one player they have. So you're now facing a Bengals defense that against the run, terrible. Will Ramondre be able to carve up the Bengals D?
I think Ramondre is going to be fine, but I think when you talk about a team like the Patriots that's as one-dimensional as they are, you have to be someone who's otherworldly to be able to get some consistent production with no pass threat, and I don't really think Jacoby Brissett is going to be anything in the pass game. The one thing that does worry me a little bit out of the Patriots is they're incredibly play-action-centric. So if Ramondre can get going early, I think the play-action shots could be there for him. I'm a little bit worried about our back end of our defense. I like them long-term, but it's the first game together. It's Dax Hill's first game at outside corner. It's Geno Stone's first game in stripes. Von Bell finally back after being cut by the Panthers. I think it's going to take a minute for that group to mesh together and really play to their full potential. So it does scare me a little bit, just because I know how much they're going to lean on Ramondre and give him the ball. But at the end of the day, I'm still just. The Bengals are going to take care of business.
We'll give our predictions for the game later on. But switching over to the Bengals defense, as I mentioned, they ranked 28th against the pass, 26th against the run last season. You pick up Geno Stone. You pick up Von Bell again. Von Bell is back with the Bengals now. Is the Bengals defense going to be any better this season? And again, I'm not saying the Bengals defense has to be top 10. I don't want them to be top 15. I mean, I want them to be top 15. They don't have to be top 15. When you have Joe Burrow, T. Higgins, Jamar Chase, and the offense the Bengals have, you don't have to have the world's best defense, but you can't be dead last. You can't be bottom 3. You can't be bottom 5. Will the Bengals defense improve this season after last year's disaster?
I think that there is so much to get excited for in one particular area when it comes to this Bengals defense, and that's the secondary. In this Joe Burrow era, I don't think that they've ever had the talent in the secondary that they currently have right now. And I know a bunch of Bengals fans are saying, what about when they had Jesse Bates and all this? I think that it's better now. I think that the safety room with Geno Stone, Von Bell, Jordan Battle, that's the best safety room the Bengals have had in this Joe Burrow era. Then you look at the cornerbacks, Dax Hill moving into a cornerback, and you got DJ Turner, you got Cam Taylor-Britt. Maybe the depth on the cornerback isn't as great. If Dax Hill steps up and is fantastic, then I have absolutely no concerns when it comes to this secondary at all. Cam Taylor-Britt is a former Cornhusker, a current Bengal, and a future star in this NFL. And the rest of this secondary is easily the most depth that it's had, and it's the most talented it's been in Lou Anarumo's tenure. So I think that this defense, at least in the secondary, at least in the back end, can be fantastic. And then you throw in kind of a second year, a sophomore season for Myles Murphy on the line, as Sheldon Rankins, who can get after the quarterback from the interior line. I think that there are a lot of exciting things when it comes to this Bengals defense. The run, it still concerns you, no doubt about it. Losing DJ Reader, you saw the linebackers take a step back last year. But I think all in all, this defense, it can't get much worse, so I think it's going to get a lot better.
I think that's a good way to think about it, too. And he talked about Dax Hill switching to corner, and obviously his first game at outside corner since college is going to be on Sunday against the Patriots. That's a move that I don't think is being talked about quite enough from a standpoint of bigger picture with the Bengals, just because moving Dax Hill from safety to corner increases the positional value of that draft pick so drastically. So if he's going to be a good corner, if he's even going to be a playable corner on the outside, that makes taking him at 31 one of the best picks, maybe in this era of the Bengals. Obviously, Joe at 1, Jamar at 5. Those were, penciled in long before draft day. This is a guy that you found late, fell to you, and you're going to capitalize on his skill by moving him to a different position. Yeah. That's why I love Luanarumo. It's a guy that's willing to do that kind of thing.
100%. Switching over to a side of the ball that pretty much, I think, sparked this new era of Bengals fandom. Everything, when you think about the current Cincinnati Bengals, changed because of this offense, because of Jamar Chase, T. Higgins, Joe Burrow. Obviously, we lose Joe Mixon. I'll talk about that in a little bit. But Zach Moss, you have Chase Brown and Zach Moss, the 1-2. Zach Moss is listed as the starter as of right now. Will the rushing attack lose something without Joe Mixon? Because Joe Mixon, say whatever you want about him, and I think, Jacob, you said it on the show today, it was whenever Joe would take a 5-yard run, he stops at that 5-yard run. There's no extra yards he's fighting for there. I think you have two guys that will fight for the extra yardage. I don't know if any of them are going to get over 750 yards rushing this year, just because I think it's going to be such a platoon backfield.
Yeah.
But will this rushing attack be roughly the same without Joe Mixon?
I've likened this Bengals backfield for 2024 to the Giovanni Bernard, Jeremy Hill backfields of the middle 2010s. I think we're going to see a lot of both running back. I think there's a chance that one could get over 1,000 yards. I think that's not completely out of the woods, because we're going to ride the hot hand all year long, and that's just the reality of the situation.
Yeah.
Zach Moss is the starter coming out of training camp because he's a better pass blocker, and last year he was the #1 running back in the NFL on yards over expectation. Those are two things the Bengals want. We're never going to lead the league in rushing attempts. We're never going to lead the league in rushing yards. We need a guy who's going to maximize his limited touches as much as possible. Zach Moss does that by breaking tackles, and Chase Brown does that by being one of the fastest ball carriers in the entire league. I think this backfield is absolutely perfect for what the Bengals want to do, but if you expect them to go to top 10, top 5 in rushing, I think you're deeply mistaken. I think they might fall down the list a little bit in terms of production, but I think they're going to be much, much more, opportunistic about how they take over with the limited touches that they have.
That was a big word. That's a St. X word.
That's right.
That's a St. X word for sure.
They didn't teach me those at beta.
No. I saw your smirk a little bit ago. You were cooking something in your brain, and I don't know what it was. I opened up the Hamilton slander, so I thought you were going in on the west side for a little bit. I was waiting for it.
No.
Because I want that. I want you to be okay. In fact, Tim told us that he wants one of your Baden jerseys to hang on these hollowed walls. I think it'll go right next to.
It would actually fit, unlike the Elder and the LaSalle and the St. X and the Champions theme that you put a Baden thing up here.
You could take the LaSalle one down. Nobody's here for LaSalle, so you could take that. You put Baden right up there.
You could put that geography bee plaque right there.
I was going to say I did win a geography bee.
Did you really?
Oh yeah,
yeah.
It's in our studio.
Yeah.
That's right, it
His
is.
championship plaque.
I completely forgot about that.
If you were wondering why I was smirking, it's because you were asking if losing Joe Mixon is going to hurt the run game. And if you know me, you know that it doesn't matter who's getting the ball.
You're just not a running back guy. That's fine.
I can tell you something right now, and that is at some point this year, we will have a conversation about who I think Chase Brown should be the starter, or I think Zach Moss should be getting more carries than Chase Brown. And I'm here to tell you it won't matter. This offense will have, at year's end, similar, if not more, offensive output from the run game than it did with Joe Mixon. Joe Mixon goes, we're sans Joe Mixon. He's one of the best running backs this franchise has ever seen, no doubt about it. I don't think you see a downgrade at the running game whatsoever. In the same way that Zach Moss replaced Jonathan Taylor last year, and the Colts had one of the best running games when he was the starter in absence of Jonathan Taylor.
If you don't lose anything in the run game, how about the wide receiver room? You still have T. Higgins, you still have Jamar Chase, but you're losing Tyler Boyd. People, I think towards the end, maybe because of the drops, he missed that big touchdown against the Texans. Shout out to Casey and I, we were there. Casey, I stayed for that whole game, yeah?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, I stayed for that whole one. But anyway, you lose Tyler Boyd. You're getting Jermaine Burton in the draft. You still have Andre Yoshivas. Yoshi's, I think, listed still as the wide receiver 3 as of today. You have Charlie Jones downtown.
I was going to say downtown
Charlie Jones. Nobody runs east to west quite like Charlie Jones. But you have these guys. Will you see? I don't want to say an improvement because you know what you have with Jamar and T. Higgins. But what was that? See, what? See, now I'm getting heckled. This is the first.
If you guys don't know this about Elliott, is if you distract him whatsoever, it's literally just a what? What did you say? I mean, he'll be in the middle of a monologue, and it's just like you just threw him off, and then it takes him like a full 4 minutes to reboot.
Oh, it's terrible.
That's a big fan of our show, Nate Seltzer. Shout out to Nate and Mike Ackley. And Nate, you've ruined the entire show. But going on to the wide receiver room. Yeah, we were talking about that. Will we lose anything there? Will they be the same? What kind of production are you seeing from Yoshi at the 3? And will we see Jermaine Burton this season?
Look, maybe I'm crazy. I think the wide receiver room got a lot better.
Yeah.
A lot better. I think Tyler Boyd, if we were losing Tyler Boyd in 2020, 2021, sure, the wide receiver room gets worse. I think over the last few years, Tyler Boyd has lost a lot of his explosiveness and a lot of that reliability that made him so great. And I think adding Yoshi, Charlie Jones, Jermaine Burton, and to answer your question about Burton, yes, I do think we'll see him eventually. I think those 3 guys are going to rotate through wide receiver 3 basically every single week. And you're just like the running back position, you're going to run the hot hand. And I think all 3 of those guys are far, far more explosive than Tyler Boyd was at the end of his time in Cincinnati. And I think Joe Burrow is going to be able to capitalize that. Do I think we're going to see more Jamar and more T. Higgins than normal? Yes, I do. He's not going to rely on those second-year players and the rookies right out of the gate.
Yeah.
But I think those guys are going to be very, very good pieces and add a level to that slot receiver, wide receiver 3 for the Bengals that they didn't have with Tyler Boyd. And it also gives you the ability to play Jamar in the slot more, 100%. Which is where he's going to dominate. The Vikings switched Justin Jefferson to the slot last year, got much more creative with his route tree, and you saw how he flourished in the games he played. He missed so much time with injury, and he still crossed 1,000 yards.
Yeah.
So he was great out there, and I think the Bengals are going to do a lot of the same things with Jamar this year, moving him into the slot, playing him outside, moving him around, searching for those matchups, and not having Tyler Boyd locked into the slot is going to give him the ability to do that.
One name I didn't mention was the tight end room. We have Mike Gesicki. You signed Mike Gesicki. I don't think he had a great year last year, but certainly he will look different in this Bengals offense. I've been talking on the show with Casey and Jacob for almost months now about Mike Gesicki's role on this team. What will it be? Will he be the true tight end, or will he be more of a wide receiver? What are you going to see? And by the way, Reed, I have just checked. He is listed as tight end 1. It is not Drew Sample. Drew Sample is tight end 2 on this roster.
On ESPN.
Not true. Bengals official roster on Bengals.com. Drew Sample, tight end 1.
Are we going to trust the Bengals official roster or the ESPN roster?
Right.
Which one?
Say that question again.
You're right. So you're right. But tight end wise, I feel like last year a key piece of the offense was missing, and obviously you get a couple of guys down the stretch. But Irv Smith wasn't it. Irv Smith just simply wasn't it. Will Mike Gesicki be an improvement upon Irv Smith?
With the memory of last year in the tight end room, because I had to field so many questions going into last year about what I thought about, all these players are leaving the Bengals. Hayden Hurst is gone. There's no longer C.J. Uzomah left the year before that. The tight end room last year collectively had a more productive season than when Hayden Hurst was here, than when C.J. Uzomah was here. Between Tanner Hudson, between Drew Sample, and God bless his soul, Irv Smith Jr., they actually had a more productive season. And then you throw in a guy that Mike Gesicki, he had a bad season last year. Who did he play for?
Mike Gesicki?
Yeah.
I believe that was the New England Patriots.
Yeah, that's why he didn't have Joe Burrow, that blonde, beautiful blonde boy throwing him the ball all the time. So, yeah, I expect big things from Mike Gesicki. And, you'll see some spots from Drew Sample.
Give your guy a little love.
Right, yeah. You get the ball to DS89 in open space, good things happen.
Just watch what happens.
But, I don't know. You talk about the wide receiving room. I think Jacob brought up a really good point about it when he said that Joe's not going to rely on these sophomore or rookies. So that's where the first 6 games gives you an opportunity to kind of fold in, to kind of get used to throwing to the Andre Yoshivas's, the Jermaine Burtons, the Mike Gesicki, who's new to the system. It's going to give time for this offense to really get under their belt. I expect Mike Gesicki is going to be the best tight end that we've seen in the Joe Burrow era. I truly believe that.
I don't even know if we're going to classify him as a tight end at the end of the year, if I'm going to be completely honest.
That's true.
I think when we look back at the season, maybe when we're here doing our Super Bowl wrap-up show.
That's right.
We're going to talk about Mike Gesicki as the 3rd leading receiver on the Bengals. That's my guess. If I had to put my money on it right now, I would say Gesicki comes in behind Jamar and T in receiving yards for the Bengals this year. He played 51% of his snaps in Miami before he got to New England. In Miami, he played 51 of his snaps in the slot, at slot receiver. That's what the Bengals lost with Tyler Boyd. We just talked about not locking a guy into that spot, but you're going to be able to move these rookie and young receivers around the offense a lot, and I think Gesicki is going to slide into that underneath short yardage receiving role, and he might be the best red zone threat Joe Burrow's had in his entire career.
I agree with you. I think you're going to see something in Mike Gesicki we haven't seen in a very long time. I think C.J. Uzomah was the closest I've seen in my lifetime, and maybe who was, oh my God, the tight end from 2010.
Jermaine Gresham.
Jermaine Gresham's who I was thinking of. But yeah, so it'll be a different look at tight end, and I'm excited to see it. Before we get to the elephant in the room, that is Ja'Marr Chase.
Nothing yet.
Nothing yet. Jacob said he's going to loudly interrupt this show, no matter what we're discussing.
That's right.
If that occurs,
you guys will know.
Our ears will bleed whenever that happens. But we mentioned, Jacob told me right before the show, T. Higgins placed on the injury report there.
Yep.
Nothing, I don't think, to be concerned about, and we will hear from T. Higgins here in a bit. But the key, obviously, to this offense is health. I think mostly T. Higgins has been healthy in his career. Mostly Ja'Marr Chase has been healthy in his career. How much monitoring will there be on those two? Because if you do lose one of them, I don't know what you have.
Well, I think the monitoring on Ja'Marr Chase has reached an all-time high, and I don't know that it could get lower than it is right now. We're watching his every move, how he walks into practice, which route he takes over the hill and across the parking lot.
That's right.
All that different stuff matters.
You can't film him crossing the street.
That's
anymore.
right. No.
Please do not film the
no
Cincinnati
cameras on the
Bengals
public
crossing the
sidewalk.
street.
But yeah, no, I think the monitoring of Ja'Marr gets as high as possible, but this was a scare from T before he spoke to the media today. He popped up on the second required injury report of the season with a hamstring injury, and then talked to the media right after.
So we're going to hear the T. Higgins audio clip right now.
I feel great. Yeah, I feel amazing. I'm just ready to go. At the end of the day, I'm just ready to go, man. So.
Is it fair to say this was the best camp of your career, the best you felt?
Yeah, I could say that. It's definitely the best I felt, going into week one. I'm physically, fine and, mentally ready. So just ready to get out there and put on a show for the fans week one. I feel great.
It's the best he's felt.
Yeah, and that's all that matters.
Somehow on the injury report.
Look, it's the second day of a required injury report. Injury reports are only required when you go into the regular season, and yesterday, that's why Ja'Marr Chase really met a crossroads whether or not he was going to practice or not. Because if he didn't practice, he would have to be told why he didn't practice. And obviously, you're not just going to write down contract dispute, because that's been kept pretty quiet by the Bengals and Ja'Marr. So I think that it's probably precautionary with T. If players receive any kind of treatment on an injury, they have to be on the injury report. So if he even got that Theragun in the back of his leg for 10 minutes, he has to be on the injury report. That quote washed away any worry I had. He's going to be fine. He's going to be out there Monday or Sunday, and he's going to look much better than he did last year in week one. That's the one thing I'm really sure about.
Ja'Marr Chase is also on that injury report. What's the injury for Ja'Marr Chase, Jacob?
What I saw, it said bag chasing.
Bag chasing.
Yeah.
Chasing the coin, huh?
That's right.
Do you think Ja'Marr is going to be healthy for week one?
Well,
I guess we'll get into it.
We'll see. Yeah,
I guess we'll get into it.
We'll see. I think Jamar's probably healthy now if we're going to talk about the injury report. But look, other receivers in his draft class at this time have gotten paid. I understand Bengals fans are a little annoyed because this doesn't seem like the rational time for someone to sit out. And, of course, that hasn't been the case for the last however many 100 years of football. You wait till the last year of your rookie contract, then you get your extension. But, the other receivers in his draft class are already being paid. Devontae Smith, Jalen Waddle, Amon-Ra St. Brown, Rashad Bateman even, not a big contract, but he got extended. I think Jamar's just sitting there like, hey, look at me.
Yeah.
I'm better than all these guys from what I've done so far since I got in the league, and I still haven't been locked up long term. I think that is really more than anything that the Bengals could have done. It is getting to a point now where the season kicks off in a half hour. Let's figure it out, guys.
Last season they did it. Bengals usurped the opener.
You didn't learn that at Elder.
No, I did not. That was at Toledo. That's where I learned that one.
Glass Bowl.
The Glass Bowl. Let's get into it. Ja'Marr Chase obviously has been a bit of a distraction this preseason. The only thing that's gone wrong, if you want to say it's gone wrong, it's the nature of the business. It's the NFL. Guys are going to do this now, especially when you play a position like wide receiver. If you get hurt, your career's over. You've seen Antonio Brown. Granted, I'm sure he's thriving under his new social media role, but his game in the NFL is over. And it could go away just like that. So I don't fault guys for wanting to be secured, even if it's 2 years early. I really don't. I don't fault Ja'Marr Chase for doing this at all. But nonetheless, I do have a problem with him saying that, or what was said to Zach Taylor, where, you know what, I'm going to be ready to go. I'm going to do this, and then I'm going to be ready to go for week one. He told Zach Taylor that, or evidently somebody did. Zach Taylor comes out, reports it to us, who then has to take it then back. the next day says, I spoke too soon. Maybe that's not the case. That's where I think most of the fan base is concerned with Ja'Marr Chase right now. And I'm hoping, I'm praying that negativity doesn't spill over to this the start of this season. Because that would be the one thing that could derail, if it could, derail this season.
Here's the thing about the Ja'Marr Chase. Yes, like the fan base for the first time ever is kind of going against him, and it a lot had to do with what happened last week about that Zach Taylor thing that you mentioned. And I think the biggest reason that fans are kind of getting a little sour on the whole Ja'Marr Chase thing is the fact that he has very little leverage, right? Yeah. Like, it's just like, what
Almost
are you doing?
None.
You've got 2 years left on your deal. You got to be here. If you don't play, it just pushes it back. The only leverage you have is that other players in your draft class have gotten this deal done. But listen, Ja'Marr, we love you here. We want you to come back and play. But what he did to Zach Taylor, kind of showing up his head coach, that's, to quote the late, great Deion Sanders, was just kind of bull junk. Yeah, that was a little bit of bull junk. But here's the thing about Ja'Marr Chase. For us to forget it is going to take one touchdown.
Yeah.
The second that he gritties in the end zone, we forget all about the contract dispute.
That's right.
And if the contract doesn't get done and he plays before the extension, well, then we'll push it down for a later date. But the second that we see Uno grittying in the end zone, grittying down at Paycor Stadium, we will forget all about the contract extension.
That's my one concern, though. The one concern is if he doesn't have that great game. If he doesn't have that 35-yard touchdown in game one. If the first half he comes out there with 2 catches, 2 drops, 25 yards, you're going to see a lot of this fan base uproar.
You certainly will.
And I'm not saying it's right or wrong. I'm just saying you're going to see it, and that's what I don't want to happen. So my question for Jacob and maybe for Casey for this, will Ja'Marr Chase be ready? We all think that Ja'Marr Chase is still going to be wide receiver 1 talent. We know what he is on the field. But with all the distraction, with what he's missed this offseason, will he be ready to go the first snap of the game on Sunday at 1 o'clock?
I think so. And I think if he wouldn't be ready to go snap 1, he wouldn't be out there. I don't think he would jeopardize himself still needing a contract as of now. He wouldn't jeopardize himself by going out there and almost getting hurt in week 1. If he was going to do that at not 100%, he would have just practiced by now. That's the truth of the situation. He's focused on getting his contract. He's focused on being 100% at that point, and I think he's going to go out there and play like it because he knows that by sitting out or by playing bad, that kills his negotiation strategy. Yeah. So he needs to go out there and he needs to play well, and I think he knows that.
Casey, any concerns? And by the way, Casey, you're looking like Tom Cruise from Top Gun right now. You got the shades on, and this is a joke in between the Chatterbox world, but the lights are bright right now.
The lights are very bright.
Is that why you got them on?
Bright. That's why I got them
All
on.
Right. I was just checking.
Just needed it to be able to actually see you guys because
they're
so bright. I have a very simple answer to this question, Elliot.
Yeah.
Joe Burrow, his best friend, said he's going to be ready.
That's
simple as that.
All right.
That's a simple answer there. Joe Burrow, Ja'Marr Chase, they'll be ready to go.
That's great. All right, so coming up, I got a couple segments here. We got a fun segment with Casey. It's a stink list. He ranks his best teams of the NFL, but he does it in a way where they correlate to smells.
That's right.
So you'll get to hear that. You'll get to hear the mailbag segment. It's one of my favorite. We get a bunch of letters from little kids all across the west side of Cincinnati. They mail them to us, and I'll read them here, and we'll read their questions. I think there's a lot of intelligent stuff in today's letter.
When all these lovely people came to Champions tonight, they probably thought only the audio and the visual would happen, but they're going to get a little stench play, too.
That's right.
Three of the 5 senses.
Three of the 5.
That's right.
3 of the 5 senses. So
we'll get Deshaun here for another one.
All right, moving on from Deshaun Watson, we have Reds tickets to give away. We have 2 pairs of Reds tickets. I'm aware they're terrible, so you don't have to tell me how bad the Cincinnati Reds are. Shout out to the Castellinis. But if you would be interested in Reds tickets, I have 2 pairs of Reds tickets. Also, it's a post-game Reds concert with Nelly.
It's getting hot in her.
Getting real hot in her.
That's right.
So if you're interested in that, are we interested in that, Tom? Tom?
Yeah, there we go.
Tom, your hair is glistening in those lights right now. I'll see it. You know what? So here's what we'll do. I'll ask Tom a question. So Tom, if Tom wants to come over here, I wrote some trivia questions down.
This seems rigged.
No, it's not rigged. Well, if anybody else wants to walk up, that's fine. Until somebody else walks up, I have 2 pairs. Let's see if you can get. You're not going to get the question anyway. You come over here and get it. All right. So I'm going to wait for the chat to get it too. So the chat will be eligible to win. So monitor whoever's the first to answer this. The last Cincinnati Bengal to score a touchdown against the Patriots. I'll give you a hint. It happened in 2022. The last Cincinnati Bengal. I'm going to tell you right now you don't know.
He's
because
still
I know
on the
you.
team.
He's still on the team.
Still on the roster.
Still in the wide receiving group.
Good guess.
That is a good guess.
But it's not it. Well, tell me if somebody in the chat gets it. If anybody else is shouting it out.
I think Big Nate Seltzer knows.
Nate wins the tickets. Nate, you win the tickets.
Trent Irwin.
That's right. Trent Irwin to the house.
You're going to go
off the bench chat. Regular Nate Seltzer takes home the tickets.
Thank you, Nate.
Irwin to the house.
Congrats. You get to go to see the Reds lose the game, but afterwards.
Show up in the 7th and watch Nelly.
But you'll have Nelly
Who
afterwards.
do they play that night?
No idea. Pirates. I think it's the
Oh,
Pirates.
what a terrible. They should have done Cardinals because Nelly's from St. Louis.
That's true. That's what they should have done. I'm surprised they didn't think about that. I don't think the Reds really had a choice when they were booking the Nelly
That was his first
concert.
album.
Nice.
All right, second pair. So we got one pair to Nate Seltzer. This is to anybody else as well. The last time the Cincinnati Bengals scored more than 30 points against the Patriots was in 1990. Which Bengals quarterback started that game in 1990? We'll see if trivia expert Mr. Bachman knows. 1990.
1990.
The Bengals starting quarterback.
You see him every
Sunday. He's got it.
We got it.
He got it.
We got it over there.
That's a pair of Reds tickets. We'll get
the fine gentleman in the blue polo.
That's right.
I'll get your email after this, and we'll send this to you. If you don't want them, just give them to somebody who likes Nelly.
That's right, because no one likes the Reds.
Nobody likes the Reds, including myself. So I had to get that out of the way. Now I think it's time for my favorite segment. You have something to say, Casey?
Did you say the answer?
Yeah, well, you got it. It was Boomer. It was Boomer.
Boomer says. But did you say the answer? Because there's people watching on YouTube.
You're right. I see, now I got lost in my own head on that one. So for the people,
you want to check the TV again?
For the people of
it was raining in Kansas City, is what they were telling you.
Yeah, Nate interrupted the show to tell me it was raining in Kansas City. Thanks, Nate. Big update there. But nonetheless, thank you to everybody for playing. Moving on, we're going to play my favorite segment. For those of you who haven't heard this, we get a bunch of questions from around the tri-state area, little kids. They ask us sports questions.
That's right.
And we give you
give them a
answers.
voice. The youth is our future, and we give them a voice here on the show.
I'm very sad that nobody gets to see this graphic we're about to run on our show, but we will play the audio for you. If you know this song, feel free to sing along. But Casey, please run that track.
We just got a letter. We just got a letter. We just got a letter. I wonder who it's from.
Whoa!
Elliot, who's it from?
Who's it from? All right, so today's mailbag comes from Little Will. So Little Will from Mrs. Farrell's class. Will writes, "Hey guys, my dad is a really bad gambler and lost an irresponsible amount of money betting the Bengals with the point spread last season. I had to sell my soccer cleats and had to register my lemonade stand to the Better Business Bureau so I could pay for college tuition. Should my dad hammer the Bengals minus 8.5 on Sunday?"
Well, it's a doozy because it's 9.5 now.
Oh, is it really?
And that's a big point.
That's a massive point. But this is the portion of the show where we give our predictions of what we think the final score will be. So thank you, Little Will from Mrs. Farrell's class. I didn't plan that.
Will from Mrs. Farrell's class.
Mrs. Farrell's class.
That's
right.
Will Farrell's class.
No. You have to separate it though.
Right,
if you separate it, the joke works better.
Right.
For me, I would tell your dad that there's a lot of public money on the Cincinnati Bengals right now.
There is a lot of public money on the Bengals.
So for that reasoning, I'm going to say, don't. Please, Mr. Will, do not
hold on. His name's Will?
I didn't think of the joke far enough, but thanks for correcting me. Mr. Will, please, well, his name's not Will now. Don't take the Bengals with the point spread. You can take the Patriots, and if the Bengals win, it's an added bonus.
I'm going to take the Bengals.
Sure.
Because that's what I do as a Bengals fan.
That's fair.
Do I think it's that smart? Probably not. But I think 9.5 points is just really big. Over a touchdown favorites in week 1 do not fare well. It's just NFL history.
Yep.
And the Bengals are obviously that against the Patriots. But again, every game that's over a touchdown spread is a good team against a bad team. But I just feel like this is a good team against a really bad team. So I want to take the Bengals so bad.
Final score prediction.
24-10 we cover.
24-10, okay. Readeroo?
Yeah, Jacob hit all the hallmarks about when it's early in the year, taking the biggest spreads typically isn't too profitable when it comes to gambling and that likes. That being said, there's just something about this game, about all the negative energy going towards the Patriots. Gerard Mayo's giving weird contradictions when asked about who quarterback number 1 was going to be. At one point he said, it's Drake May looks unreal.
Yep.
It's Jacoby Brissett's to lose. But Drake May, like, it's giving conflicting things. For that reason, I just really like the Bengals to get right. Jamar Chase is going to be there. He's going to score a touchdown. It's going to be great. Paycor is going to be rocking. I think the Bengals get over their woes of the last few seasons and win this pretty handedly.
Gerard Mayo about their quarterback situation, maybe one of my favorite quotes of the offseason, said Jacoby Brissett's going to start week 1, but Drake May does the best job of leading a huddle. He's not the best quarterback, but he leads the huddle the best way. So that's good.
It's a lot like my guy, Jonathan India. When he steps up to the plate, he might strike out, but when he gets back to the dugout, he's gonna inspire the next guy
and what's it
to
all
also
about?
strike out. But when he comes back, that's when they got something special.
And what's it all about?
It's about the friends you make along the way. That's
right.
a great question.
I think it was Gerard Mayo on a 2-day span said that there is a very real quarterback competition going on. Drake May looks far and away the better quarterback, but Jacoby Brissett's going to be QB1.
That's right.
It's like none of those things add up.
Yep. So, Casey, you're the sharpest gambler here. You're wearing sunglasses. Whatever you say, I'm going to take his Bible. So take
here
his
we go,
Bible.
right, man?
So please.
Well, I got a final score prediction here. Bengals 28.
Bengals.
New England 13.
New England 13. That's a cover. That's an easy cover.
That's an easy cover.
That's the easiest cover of the day. So that's it. I guess for Will and his father, that's a group vote.
Mr. Will,
please take the Bengals.
Will, tell
the
your dad,
points.
Mr. Will, to take the spread.
Try to keep it under a car payment, though.
That's
Okay,
right.
Moving on here. We have tonight's season opener. Again, the big update from this game is Nate told me it was raining. So keep that in mind when you make this wager.
When you
watch the opener tonight. Ravens, Chiefs.
The field and fans have been cleared. All fans are relegated to the concourse.
Really?
Kickoff's still scheduled for 8:20, but I guess we'll see.
Just cleared up, though.
Chiefs are looking to be the first three-peat in NFL history. Ravens looking to be somewhat relevant in the postseason since Joe Flacco. Who do you like tonight? And not necessarily gambling-wise. We'll get to that at the end of the show. But who do you like tonight to win this football game?
There was a heated debate today on the show about who Bengals fans should be rooting for.
Sure.
Between the
I don't
Ravens
think
and
it's
the
that.
Chiefs.
It is a debate, but go ahead. I don't think it should be.
Yeah.
Are you on his side?
I didn't hear the debate.
Okay.
Well, now, working.
Okay. Nice.
So it was on the show. Yeah. No.
What was the debate, by the way?
The debate was whether Bengals fans should be rooting for is bad verbiage because you're not rooting for either.
Right.
But one team has to win the game. Who would you rather win the game? The division rival, Baltimore Ravens, or I guess the Bengals' biggest rival when you look at it from a league sense at this point, the Kansas City Chiefs.
Yeah.
My thought process was I would rather the Ravens beat the Chiefs tonight.
Yeah.
Because the Bengals have 2 chances to give the Ravens a loss. And they only have 1 chance to give the Chiefs a loss. So if the Chiefs pick up a second loss right here, there we go.
That's correct.
We have 2 legs up on both of them. So I'm personally on the Ravens, plus the points, and you guys will talk about the betting later. But I think the Ravens are going to win the game. I'm gonna go against Patrick Mahomes one last time before he makes me look stupid. Because every year I think the weapons aren't good enough, and the defense isn't good enough, and the right tackle isn't good enough, and then he goes out and wins 2 Super Bowls in a row. This team with the Chiefs is much better than the team last year that won the Super Bowl. So who knows what they're capable of? But I really like the Ravens, especially early in the season.
Yeah.
I like so when we often talk about it, because this first came up in the AFC Championship game, like who you rooting for, your division rival, or you're rooting for your team that's kind of been your rival over the last 2 years and have been at the head of the sport. I think people are getting Chiefs fatigue, so I understand it. All that being said, I have a unique take when it comes to who do you pick between the Chiefs and the Ravens, and here it is. It's you gotta root for the Chiefs. Because, one, the Ravens are your division rival. You want them to lose every game possible.
100%.
But on top of that, if other teams start beating the Chiefs, what do the Bengals have to hang their hat on? Because that's our thing. No one else can do it, but we can do it.
Yeah.
So, like, if other teams start, if it's just cherry pick and everyone can beat the Chiefs now, well, what are the Bengals? They get relegated to just kind of a meandering team in the middle of the league. So that's why I want the Chiefs to continue to dominate over everybody else so that we can dominate them and say, oh, yeah, we're on top of the best team, this dynasty, the current dynasty of the NFL. So that's why I like. That being said, when it comes to this game particularly, I think the Ravens have way more to lose.
Yeah.
I think that the Chiefs go into this game going like, we lost week 1 last year. We're 2-time, back-to-back, 3 of the last 5 Super Bowl champs. What's it matter if we lose this game? The Ravens understand if we lose this game, there are some serious questions about who we are as a franchise, who we are as a team, knowing that we can't get over top of this Kansas City Chiefs team. All that being said, I think we'll get into gambling in a second, so I guess I'll leave that for later on. But all being said, you got to root for the Chiefs here. You've got to like. I mean, they're the dynasty, and if the Ravens win, what does that mean for the Bengals?
I agree, especially coming after last season when the Bengals go 1-5 in the division. And you play in the toughest division in the NFL. This is the toughest division in the National Football League. I have no interest in cheering on the Ravens to win any football games this year, the Steelers to win any football games, and certainly not the Cleveland Browns to win any football games this season. So I'm going to not cheer for the Chiefs, I'm going to cheer for my bets, and we'll get to those again in a minute. But before we give our bets of the night, and again, thank you very much, everybody, for coming out tonight. Thank you. A lot of our chat is here. If you don't know the chat, we do a YouTube show every single day from 10 a.m. to 12 p.m. That's on YouTube. We are also on the radio. If you go to ESPN 1410, that's Wing AM, ESPN 1410 Wing AM. We are on the radio every single day from 1 to 3. So check us out. We're on the iHeartRadio app. We're on all the apps you want. So check us out wherever you are. Podcast, we have Jacob Tissett hosting Chatterbox Bengals. He's going live for every single Bengals game. He's giving up his season tickets. He had season tickets. He said, you know what, I'm not doing that. I'm doing it for the love of the content creation. And we're going to just do a show from the very beginning of the game to 30 minutes, 40 minutes after the game, depending on if it's a win or loss, I'd imagine.
Well, yeah.
What show do you think will be longer, wins or losses?
Wins.
Wins?
Well, unless it's late, late season, you
will.
got to get mad at some people. I'm not sure. But, if you guys keep coming out to the Thursday night shows of Champions, maybe those lost season tickets could trickle on down.
Please.
So make sure you're coming out to watch the show.
Yeah, my family's here. Some friends are here. So thank you, everybody. My people I don't know are here. Thank you all for coming tonight. I appreciate that a lot. Moving on here, Casey. We do a segment on the show. It's called the Stink List.
That's right.
Now, for time purposes, we're going to shorten it up a little bit. So what I'm going to ask you to do, I'm going to give you your top 5. Your top, what is that? The first.
Use one in each tier.
One in each tier. So we're going to read the tiers out. This is Casey's segment on our show, Off the Bench. Check us out again, 10 to 12 every day on YouTube. Casey, what are the tier systems? What's the worst and what's the best?
Well, the tier system, right, on a stink list, it goes from exquisite, fresh, odorless, stink, stench, and nauseating.
Nauseating.
Yeah, so obviously.
Okay. I don't think there's a G at the end.
Nauseating?
No. Nauseating.
Yeah, that's my bad.
Nauseating.
That's my nauseating. That's my bad.
Right. And clearly, exquisite, you want to smell those things.
That's right.
Those things are very appealing.
That's
fresh,
right.
like fresh clothes. Odorless, doesn't smell like anything. Stink, it smells a little bit like something. Stench, oh, you can't get that stuff out of your nose. And then nauseating, oh, you're getting ready to puke. It's so horrendously smelling. So.
Let's start with the top. I think we start with the top.
Obviously, at the very top. This is the first time we're doing it here in Champions Bar.
Yeah.
And let me tell you, the Bengals smell exquisite, man. It's a brand new season. The Bengals,
that's right.
They're going to.
Who could have saw that coming?
Yeah, who could have saw that one coming? The Bengals, they're going to smell great the whole season long. I'll tell you one that smells fresh, though, something that's a little new. The Atlanta Falcons, man, I think that they're a team that's being slept on right now.
Yeah, that's right.
Kirk Cousins comes over there. They finally have a quarterback. That defense was great last year. They were held back tremendously by a horrible offense.
Yeah.
And the quarterback of that offense is no longer on an NFL roster. And they were 2 games away from making the playoffs.
Exactly. And now they have Matthew Judon back there, and they pair Justin Simmons with Jesse Bates. Yeah, I really love the Falcons right now. They are a fresh team.
I like it.
Odorless. I put the Jaguars on there because I feel like not many people are talking about them, but they're still a decent team. They were 9-8 last season. They barely missed out in the playoffs. And Trevor Lawrence was hurt for most of that season.
Yeah.
So it's really hard to see them as anything else than that because they're not full-on Super Bowl contenders, but they're not full-on, like, terrible teams. So odorless.
I think they're the forgotten team in the NFL this year.
I think they are perfectly odorless.
Correct.
Yeah, they are
Perfectly
a
odorless.
Stink. I have the Buffalo Bills on here. Many
Why?
people will
Yes.
be
Why is
shocked
that?
about this one. I love Josh Allen, just like everyone else does. But the rest of this roster has just been stripped down. A lot of injuries this preseason have just really crushed this team. I mean, they're completely new secondary this year. Their defense, it's not going to look the same at all, and people still think that this defense is going to be the same. I mean, you lose 2 safeties, a starting corner. You're talking about the defensive linebackers right now. They're all different this season. I don't know, man. There's something about this team that's just a little funky. It's just got a little stink to them. I don't like it, and I'm not saying that they're not going to be a playoff team, but I don't think that they're Super Bowl favorites this year. Moving on to stench.
This team, I agree. I agree with this one.
The Saints. You would think a team that's trying to build something up would try to do the one thing that they're supposed to do all season long, and that's sign Alvin Kamara to a long-term extension. Your one true great weapon, and they can't get it done.
Chris Olave's pretty good too.
Yeah, sure. But you had one job.
Where'd he
You
go
had
to
one
college?
job, and they couldn't do it.
No age.
And the rest of the roster is pretty pathetic. So Saints right now stuck in the stench category. And, of course, to round this out, the nauseating category.
The worst category.
Who could be in this category?
It's the Cleveland Browns, man.
Oh, no
That's
way.
right.
They're a great team, but everyone talks about them like they're going to win a Super Bowl. And it's like Deshaun Watson hasn't thrown a football in 8 years.
Yep.
They always lose, and they stink. If it's Browns, flush it down.
That's correct, Casey.
Nauseating the Cleveland Browns. That wraps up the stink list for week 1.
Yeah, Deshaun Watson is what people would call a bad guy. And so I think
Yeah, and the real dude is he's not good at playing quarterback either.
Yeah, that's the craziest
If you're
part.
going to be a bad guy, at least be a really good quarterback.
Yeah.
It depends on who you ask, because there was another AFC North quarterback, Big Ben. He might think he's an okay guy.
That's right. That's true.
That's true.
Yeah, shout out
be
to the
good
Browns
friends.
and Steelers. They bring up the best of us. Okay, so that's it. Listen, we're going to give our best bets right now. We're winding down on time. For those of you who don't know who I am, I'm a big fan of gambling. Shout out to whoever in Ohio legalized that. This is for Molly. I'm going to gamble everything I have just for Molly tonight. Thank you, Molly. But here we go. The best bets of Thursday Night Football. It's the opening week of the NFL. It's the opening game of the NFL season. And we have now an update. And this was a very good update by Casey instead of just screaming at me, waving my hands like the people down in front.
It's almost like we're at a bar, Elliot.
So the kickoff for the Ravens-Chiefs game is now scheduled for 8:40. 8:40 is now the scheduled kickoff. Thank you, Nate. 8:40 is now the scheduled kickoff for the opening game of the season. But, gentlemen, who do we like? What do we like in this game, gambling-wise? I'll give my picks first. Jake has been making fun of me for about 2 days now, saying you can't bet every first touchdown score. Yes, you can. That's the funniest part. Yeah, you can. Mark Andrews, 25 to win $300. Bet it. Bet your mortgage on it responsibly. Please bet responsibly. After that, I have Travis Kelce, first touchdown scorer. I'm going to add Rashee Rice because Reed took it, and not to spoil his pick, but I'm now adding that to my picks for first touchdown scorer. Isaiah Pacheco, first touchdown scorer. Derrick Henry, first touchdown scorer. Did I mention anybody else? Did I forget
My
anybody?
favorite thing is when we talked about doing this show, he said, all right, we'll round it out. Everyone give 5 picks for the Thursday night football game.
They said,
the single game. We
they
gotta
said they
give
couldn't
out
do
20 total picks.
Brother, I got 35 bets in the chamber right now. I'm ready to lose it all. My family's here. That's not a real thing. I don't have to call the hotline.
You probably should.
Maybe. We'll see after tonight.
Yeah, we'll see. We'll see. All right, you want to
want your
bet?
bets. I
All
want
right.
your bets.
So the bet that I like is I'm going to take the Chiefs. I'm going to take the Chiefs -3. The reason I think Patrick Mahomes in his career is like 20-1 in spreads that are 3 or less. So I think the only one that he lost was against the Cincinnati Bengals. But that's neither here nor there. So I'll take Patrick Mahomes, and I'll continue to do that because, listen, it might not be the most profitable thing, but if you bet on the Patriots for the previous 2 decades, you're probably pretty profitable. Yep. I'm going to ride Patrick Mahomes until I shouldn't ride Patrick Mahomes, so I'll do that. Secondly, the big storyline last year in the season opener was Chris Jones, because he didn't play against the Detroit Lions. This year he is playing, and once again I think that the talk after the game will be about Chris Jones and what he did to the Baltimore Ravens offensive line. They only bring back 2 starters from a season ago, so give me Chris Jones over a quarter of a sack, so he only has to have half a sack.
I like that.
That's
like
minus 130. That's my biggest play of the game. I really like Chris Jones to get half a sack.
I'm not as smart as Reed, so I took the Ravens.
Neither am I.
I have not been taught a lesson by Patrick Mahomes over the last 4 years or however long, and he just continues to dominate.
That's right.
And I'm probably going to lose again, but I took the Ravens plus 3.5. I think they're better at basically every position on the field than the Chiefs are, but that hasn't mattered before, so we'll see if it does tonight. I'm on the Ravens, and then with the weather, the delay, everything like that, seems like a pretty clear under to me. 46.5, very, very high. Week 1 unders hit at a pretty good rate anyway, and then with the delay and the rain and the wind and all that good stuff, I think the under is a lock as well. The addition of Derrick Henry for the Ravens, they're going to squeeze the air out of the football and take a lot of time off the clock. So I don't think that over is going to be in play at all.
I did see a couple spreads. Lamar Jackson 16-2 when the spread is either or when he's favored or an underdog by less than a field goal.
Okay.
He's 16-2 against the spread. For the only Mahomes stat I found for opening games is that he's 4-2 on opening games. So.
And spreads less than 3, he's lost one time.
So I'm going to ride with Jacob based on the information I just gave myself. But nonetheless, Casey, your best bet of the night. Best bets.
My best bet. A lot of these guys already took them. I love Ravens plus 3.5. I love the under tonight. But I'm going to give some props. I love player props. And right now, with this delay, with this rain, it's going to be an ugly game. I'm thinking I'm going to take the under in passing yards for Lamar Jackson. It's currently sitting at 215.5.
Yeah.
I'm going to take the under on that. That's minus 110. And subsequently, I think I might take the under in the passing touchdowns for Patrick Mahomes.
Man, you guys are haters. You guys are haters. How can you do that? Rice is on the Chiefs. He likes to go fast.
That's right. That's right.
It's currently sitting at.
Just like to go a little too fast.
Leave his car behind.
They're still waiting for that suspension.
So those are my 2 picks at the moment.
I'm not creative at all.
Yeah.
Like you are with your 11 first touchdown bets.
Thank you.
Very impressive.
Yes, thank you.
I went the other route and just the stuff that is so clear and easy that it has to hit.
Yep.
I just parlayed Derrick Henry and Travis Kelce to score touchdowns.
Yeah.
That's anytime,
listen.
not first. Anytime, just score.
What if all 11 of your first touchdown bets hit?
I asked him
What
that
if
earlier.
all 11 of them hit?
Then you will not see me again, Reed Mouse. I will disappear into the great beyond.
I think we might be living in a different dimension at that point.
But it might happen. Who knows? I certainly think
No,
that.
I feel like I know.
And the more you guys talk about it, the more I feel really bad about all my bets. So, nonetheless, that's it. Thank you very much to Champions for having us. Thank you to all. Thank you to Tim for setting this up. Thank you to Brooke. I don't know where Brooke is. I told her to wait, but then she went away. Thank you to Jade. Jade's out there somewhere. Brooke, thank you. Brooke wanted to say hi, so I'm going to let Brooke say hi now. So come back here, and I'll give you my headset.
Let's hear a round of applause for Brooke real quick.
Brooke,
Yeah!
Woo!
Hi guys, I'm Brooke. Come to Champions all the time. We're so awesome.
That was the best ad read I've ever
Very
heard.
good. Very
Come
good
to
stuff.
Champions all the time. We're awesome. Let's go, bro.
That's
Short
why
and sweet.
That's why they pay her the big bucks. But this Sunday, Jacob.
That's right. This is our live version of Chatterbox Bengals, live and in person. This Sunday, we will be live on YouTube for the Week 1 game, live through the whole game. Come watch it with me. It'll be a good time. And if you're going to the game, tune into our postgame show. We'll be live right afterwards on YouTube at Chatterbox Sports. Make sure you join us. It should be a good time. Excited to see you guys
It'll
there.
be you and Craig, I believe,
That's
on
right.
Sunday. That's right.
That's
so,
right.
Tune in for that. Chatterbox Sports YouTube. Bengals game, 1 o'clock. We'll have the game on 15 TVs, but one of the TVs will be Jacob
Right
Dixon
here.
and Craig Sandlin. Check him out this Sunday against the Patriots, 1 o'clock. this NFL season is upon us here, boys. Congratulations. Reed, thank you for making the drive. It's a long journey. And
I enjoyed it.
I know I don't make a big deal about the drive,
Yeah.
so I know you won't do it either, but thank you very much for the hour-and-a-half commute over to my side of town. Thank you very,
I like
very
that it
much.
gets longer every time.
Oh, it'll be 3 hours by week 3 of this.
For
So,
sure.
Casey lives in Blanchester, and Jacob lives in some mansion out in wherever. So thank you, everybody. Have a great night. Let's go Chiefs?
We both took the Ravens.
You're right. I'm lost. We'll see ya. Bye-bye.
Thank you,
We'll see you in a
everybody.
couple weeks, guys.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.